One of the better flow states I've had was when I got second at the US Open. I remember like so vividly, like did a trick that I hadn't done before in competition, and it was like I was like almost like a passenger, and it was like just everything was happening.
Thanks for coming on, dude.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Stoked to be here.
So you come back home to Ontario a couple times a year?
Yeah, I try to do like 3 times a year: Christmas, come in the spring, summer trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
What do you do out in Whistler in the summertime?
A lot of golfing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of addicted to golfing.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like my thing. Skateboarding as well,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like similar to snowboarding, and it's good to get your like creative brain going, standing sideways. And then we actually have the glacier up there that's still holding on, and
Right.
we can ride. And I coach at Momentum.
Oh, do you? Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good paycheck, I bet.
Yeah, it's
well,
fun.
like while
yeah,
you ride.
totally. And I get to snowboard, and the kids love it. And yeah, it's kind of like I had never done that side of snowboarding, coaching, like because my whole career has been focused on my progression and my career. So it's nice to push it on to like the next generation. And
Does the coaching help you at all? Like kind of wrap your head around stuff?
I think it just helps me get my like stoke again, because I have this like 13-year-old kid trying to just learn a backflip for the first time, and seeing that like spark
Yeah.
in their eyes makes me like feel even more grateful that I get to do it for a living.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. When did you start snowboarding and how? I guess
Yeah.
you kind of started when snowboarding was like on this big upswing. Like everyone who was starting to go to the mountain was going to be snowboarding.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny you say that. I was just talking to my mom last night. I always thought snowboarding was just cooler, like because I was a skier.
Sure.
I was a skier as a kid. My whole family skis, and I'd always tell my mom and dad, be like, I'd point at the snowboarders at the hill and be like, I want to do that.
Right.
And I had a friend, Adam Hurd, who was like a family friend.
I know Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember him? He was on Simple, and he snowboarded, and I was just like looked up to what he did.
Right.
And he got me on a board. I think I was 6 years old. So 26 now, 20 years of snowboarding.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what hill?
That would have been Georgian Peaks, like
Okay.
the private ski club that.
So your family was up there.
Yeah, we would go up every weekend, and my brother and sister would ski, and we raced before. Like I was a little ski racer.
Really?
Yeah.
From how old though? Like
I would have
before
been like
6?
2 years old.
Really?
Skiing. Yeah, like I was like gung ho for sure. And
2?
2, yeah. They had me on, I think, Mount St. Anne. I learned how to ski when I was 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been on
Holy
the
cow.
snow for my whole life, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So then how, like, take me to starting to do it more seriously. Was it just like you were coached right away? Like your parents thought, hey, this is a good idea if you're going to start snowboarding?
Yeah, I think that scenario was, I kind of got lucky because we had someone come to the club that was a snowboard coach. He's from New Zealand, Sam Marcotte, who started Simple Snowboarding, now Sender Society. But it was just cool that I think he saw something in me. I was 8 years old when he started coaching me, and it kind of just took off from there. And I'm really grateful that he was able to be a part of that process, because I think he convinced my parents that I had something too.
Right.
And then they were able to be like, like, okay, let's do this. Let's like see where it can go. And that was just from starting in like Ontario, doing like the AOS contests and just like the regional events. And then eventually you'd go into like the States and international. But
Right.
yeah, it's fun times being a kid, and you're just so, all your mind can do is snowboard. You're just like so heavily focused into it.
Yeah, there's so much, like I remember being so small, like, and going to different places or whatever, like there was so much like adventure in it, or like mystery in it. Like you could ride around and like find new spots, or like through the trees and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we even would go to like, you would come to Mount Tremblant with us, right?
I never did.
You never did,
but I heard about the trip.
Yeah, and it was like that, coming from Ontario, even upgrading to that hill
Right.
was like crazy, because like there was tree riding, there might be like a little powder, and like it kind of sparked your interest on like not just riding a 400-foot hill you're like, whoa, we can,
Right.
there's bigger mountains out there.
So you're riding at Georgian Peaks, and then Sam starts Simple Snowboarding.
Exactly, yeah.
And moves it to Mount St. Louis.
Yeah, so I would have been maybe 9 or 10 when we started going to Mount St. Louis. They just had, at the time, their terrain park was kind of superior in Ontario.
Yeah.
They had the half pipe, they had the mini pipe, they had 4 jumps, and so then it became Mount St. Louis every weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and following Sam, because I think it was cool. Had that he had a huge passion at that age too, of just like, he was so heavily focused on snowboard coaching and like the techniques and stuff that like I still use today and share with other people. Like, he was like, it's really cool looking back on it now. He just was so heavily I don't know, just engaged in like trying to find new techniques and make snowboarding like, yeah, make it easier for people to learn at a high level.
Right. The one thing I remember from just riding laps kind of at Louis while watching you guys do it was like how serious he was about style.
Dude,
like he was like, everything you learned, I felt like, or my brother learned, or any of those guys, is like, you have to do a grab. It has to look good.
Totally. Yeah. I am like so forever grateful that I had him as my coach at a young age, because he'd be like, you want to try a 720? Make sure you grab. You want to do 900? Make sure you grab and poke and make it look good. He'd always tell me like, what would it look like through the lens of the camera, and like, how would that photo look if someone took a screen grab mid trick? So it made me at such a young age think about the way my snowboarding looked.
Yeah.
And now that's my whole, like, that's what I want to share to the world, is like making snowboarding look graceful and effortless. And yeah, that was like, you nailed it on the head. It would be like, okay, you try your first 900, make sure you grab melon and make it look sick.
Which is like,
but
crazy
sometimes you'd land on your head because you're not able to spin the rotation and grab, because that's never something you've done before.
Yeah.
It's really funny looking back on it now, but I would eat shit all the time.
Yeah.
Just from like trying to grab the whole way through my rotation. I still do it till this day. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess there's kind of like two mentalities. Like, some guys would go and get the trick just to their feet and then work on the style.
And kind of go backwards with it. We would go the other way, where if you're not landing it but it looks good, still pretty sweet, and then eventually you're going to land it. Because I remember even like Tyler Nicholson, I grew up shredding with him, and he came on the team before, and he already could do like sevens and stuff like that and stomp them, but maybe not get his grab as good. And I was just like, oh my God, like, how is he landing this? And then it kind of like, finally it took me like 2 years until I could figure out how to grab and land.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have any bad injuries or concussions, like taking so many slams?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I was from the age of like, I think 12 to 16, I broke my collarbone 6 times.
Oh, geez.
Like every winter I'd break my collarbone.
And it took you out?
Oh, yeah, it took me out. But then I would try to go ride back, because I was like, oh, maybe, 3 weeks, re-break it. Oh. So I got, 3 on each side. My shoulders are all pretty banged up.
Have you had any surgeries?
No, because at that time, I was so young and I was still growing, so they didn't want to do the surgery.
Yep.
Because then my shoulders would be all out of line. But now I got these like double collarbones like stacked on top of each other.
I know what those look like. Yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, totally. But I think that too, it taught me like the capability of your body to be like, okay, you can heal, you can come back from stuff. And then the time on snow would be so much more important, because I would have been off for, most of the winter.
Right.
And it just taught me to like, just want it more, I think.
And then, so you're competing, like you guys are riding 3 days a week kind of thing, or 2 days a week, whatever.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And then you start doing Ontario contests.
Yep.
And when for you is it like, okay, there might be something here, or I'm pretty decent, or how did you conceptualize it?
Maybe it was, I'm trying to think back. I think I was 14 and I got 4th at the Nationals for halfpipe.
It's a Canadian Nationals.
Canadian Nationals at Stoneham. And that was against like all ages. And at that time I was obviously a lot younger than the field.
Sick halfpipe there.
Yeah, Stoneham. Still, I think it's like the only second place, or only 2 places in Canada that have 22-foot halfpipe, and Stoneham still has one, which is sick. But yeah, I remember getting 4th there, and then that kind of like made me realize that I could probably do this more on an international level, not just like within Canada.
Right.
But at that time, I was still riding slopestyle and halfpipe, and it kind of changed my focus to more halfpipe.
Right.
at that time.
Because of the success.
Because of the success. And then it's kind of a funny story is that went from there. The next year they had a thing called the Youth Olympics, which was a event that you could do. It was, I think, 15 to 17 was like, it was supposed to be like this trial for athletes that will probably go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Got there, got my spot in half pipe, got fourth in the half pipe. But then the team was like, well, we have one extra spot for slopestyle if you want to do it. So I ended up staying, and then somehow I won the slopestyle.
Really?
So then it kind of changed again and changed my focus again, because I was like, well, maybe I should be focusing on slopestyle.
Right.
So I was kind of in that from like 14 to 16, definitely had a dilemma of like choosing half pipe or slopestyle, and I ultimately chose slopestyle. I just enjoyed it more and had more fun doing it.
Less scary.
Less scary, yeah. Riding half pipe is insanely gnarly. I respect the men and women so much watching those events, because you know how it is with the half pipe. The margin for error is so small because of the deck. Like you pop, you go flat, you go early, you're landing on the deck, falling 22 feet. At least in slopestyle, you know, you knuckle a jump. You're not you're just going onto the landing. It's gonna hurt, but you're not
falling, whatever.
30
feet
to
flat.
flat. Yeah.
So I guess, at kind of that age, if you were going to go, whatever, well, let me back up.
Yeah.
The Olympics was around that, already like.
Was already a thing at that time, yeah.
So was that a driving force for you to ride half pipe? Like maybe I could go to the Olympics in half pipe?
Exactly. And I saw getting fourth at the Nationals in Canada, and I was like, well, there's 4 spots.
Right.
For the Olympics, and then maybe I could make the Olympic team. And that would have been, I think, 16, or no, I would have been 2014 Sochi, so I would have been like 17. So at that time, I was trying to ride half pipe and get to the Olympics. But ultimately, I think I just was like chasing it for the wrong reasons. And I've been always trying in my career is like follow what makes you stoked and enjoy. And like I remember having a moment of hiking the half pipe in Colorado, and then knowing that like Darcy and Tyler, my like 2 homies that were riding slopestyle jumps like over there, like adjacent to the hill, and being like, I want to be over there.
Yeah, they're having.
And then I kind of like just switched. I was like, I don't need to do the half pipe anymore. And I think snowboarding is a lot more than just chasing that Olympic dream. For some people, that is all they want, and I think that's awesome. But for me, I think it was way more of enjoying the whole scenario of it.
Right. Because there's slopestyle in the Olympics now. How did that work out? Was it for you? Like, did you ever attempt that?
Yeah. So after basically not doing half pipe anymore, focusing more on slopestyle, and actually started to get some good strides. Like I won a World Cup when I was 18.
Wow.
In Stoneham as well.
Okay.
So I got some good history there. And then that definitely was like, okay, I'm on the right path, like for sure.
Yeah.
And then ended up like, that was like, for those 5 years were awesome. I got second at the US Open. And then I actually got to go to the Seoul Olympics, but I was an alternate.
Okay.
The fifth member of the team. So it was kind of bittersweet, but I got to hang out and ride the course and chill. And it was like, looking back on it, I still got to be there and see it all. Definitely would have loved to ride, but it was still really cool. I'm grateful for it.
Did you attempt the next ones?
No. So for like, to go in like the full kind of like, I guess, outline of the career. So after that, it was 2018. 2019, I broke my pelvis.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I
broke my pelvis 2018. Before that, just under-rotated a back triple on ice.
Oh.
Landed like, just like spiderweb my pelvis.
How did that feel?
Oh, it hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being in like the most pain I've ever been in, because every time I like muscle would flex, it would like pull the fracture.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I was like, I think I was falling so many times, and even if I'll send you some like clips of me like eating shit. And I think I just was like starting to like be like, why am I doing this to my body? And I wasn't enjoying it as much. And I had the opportunity to start filming, and at that time I had already bought a sled.
Okay.
So I had a sled in 2017. So in the midst of like doing all these contests, I already was like thinking about riding backcountry.
Right.
And I think that's just like the way my mind works. I like always like want to have like the next thing to focus on.
Right.
And I'm stoked I did that because now I get to like, yeah.
Yeah, to me that's where it's at.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the most fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But without, I think, yeah, like without having that time on the national team and learning, you know, just how to take care of your body, working out, riding there's sled camps where you're hitting a jump 50 times in a day. And the reps I got on my snowboard, I don't think it allowed me to do what I do today. So,
Sure.
So I'm really like stoked that I was able to have that time in my life.
Right.
And the people I met too, like, yeah, like Elliot Catton, who is still the national team coach to this day. He worked with me the whole time and taught me a lot mentally too on that side of things, not just the riding.
Right. So you were a part of Team Canada, and what was because I'm always into like the fitness and like the longevity stuff.
Yeah.
What was kind of the program there, like weightlifting, mobility training, stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of mobility, a lot more like agility training.
Okay.
We had our strength and conditioning coach still now is Jeremy Shepard, like legend in the industry, but he was always about like getting us as quick as we could. So he'd like when we do our squatting, he'd look at the velocity, see how fast we're not how much weight we're pushing, but how fast we can push the weight up.
Right.
And then that would affect your like pop.
Yep.
And then your pop means you're going to be able to hit a jump and go bigger than your opponent. So it was like always based on that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which I still do like focus a lot on that because the quicker you can be on your feet and the more nimble, like the riding becomes a lot easier.
Right.
So that was like the main focus was like a lot of agility, like single leg stuff and always trying to like get your numbers up, you know, like looking at you, like we'd have like force plates so you could see your jump. And if you're putting too much weight on your left foot or your right foot, because maybe your ankle's a little banged up and you're starting to like compensate for that injury.
Wow. Freaking telemetry there.
Yeah. Like, yeah, they really like were definitely driving in and you'd like, you know, you'd have your spreadsheet and you'd look at all your numbers and where you can improve.
Wow.
Like so it's like that kind of thing. I'm stoked I got to do because I don't think I would have realized the potential. And like you said, the longevity, if I can do that even through my next career in the backcountry, that's how I'll be able to do it for a long time. Like,
right.
It's one thing being a good snowboarder. It's like if you can be a good, like, I guess, athlete in a weird way to say, but because snowboarding is not really, like, I don't look at it that way, but in the gym, you got to think.
Yeah, you got to think like that. You got an athlete's mentality.
Totally. And you want to spend long days in the mountains and trying to do progressive things. I want my body to work. And I've had so many injuries, so I've had.
Do you do anything for like injuries or like, you know, call it things like sauna or ice bath, stuff like that?
Yeah, I like to
do
stem
cells.
No, I've never gotten to the stem cells. Maybe later down in the career if I need it. But a lot of ice bathing. I'm like huge. I love like the dry needling, like acupuncture, more of like where they like move the needle and try to find the
like
spot.
choke point or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get like a pinch in your back and they just it's not like acupuncture where they put it in and move it around until your muscle grabs it. Yeah. And that's like I'm still do that like for my like recovery because I think just putting long days on the legs, your body gets twisted up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Do you follow any like program for nutrition or anything like that?
I was on, and like when I was on the national team, they had me like going to a doctor that would help my nutrition, and they actually like went through and we did like a DNA test to see where I was like deficient and everything that. So I guess my thing was I had like super high stress levels.
Sure.
Yeah. My brain wouldn't turn off. So there's like some stuff that I would do, a lot of like magnesium and stuff to like help my brain turn off.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Would be the thing. And I still like do that, but definitely just try to eat clean. I'm not like crazy about it.
Right.
If I'm exercising, I look at it like, okay, it offsets what I'm doing.
Yeah. But it's funny.
Maybe it's like not the best way to do it, but You gotta if I don't feel good, then I'm like, let's change something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Evan McEachran and I was asking him about the Olympic Village food. And I'm like, oh, they must serve you like the best stuff. And he's like, no, dude, like pizza and chicken nuggets.
Yeah. I think that was like the hardest part of traveling, going to some places where the food, like I would lose weight.
Really?
Because I couldn't eat like I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then that food wouldn't make you feel that good.
Yeah.
It's like crazy how important that side of things is. Affects your sleep, affects your yeah.
Yeah. Do you tape your mouth shut at night?
I haven't yet, but my girlfriend always is like, close your mouth.
You're snoring.
Yeah. But I've been too lucky, I guess, to touch on like the stuff that I like to do. There's like flow, like basically like flow research and like flow states.
Okay.
I'm super into that. Like that's something that I've kind of dove into, especially riding backcountry, because when you have a good run or like a good moment is all flow state.
Yeah.
And like you're basically driving into that moment, your brain's turning off, you lose your sense of self.
Yep.
And you're just so present. It's like the best feeling. But there's this guy that worked with us on the national team. I still work with him now. Chris Bertram. He works with a bunch of the PGA Tour players too, like Canadians, like Nick Taylor and stuff like that. And it's really cool because his whole job is to study flow states and how to get people into flow states easier.
All right, give us the spiel.
Yeah, the spiel. I mean, a lot of it's like breathing. Like if you can work on breath work, like something I do is like 3-4-7 breathing. It's like 3 seconds in, holding for 4 seconds, then 7 seconds out.
Okay.
And it's just something that helps me relax because I'm like high stress.
Yeah.
For other people, you might want to do like box breathing because
which is like 4-4-4.
Yeah, it'll heighten. It'll actually make you like it'll make you feel more anxious, and then that could get you. But for me, I needed to like go the other way and like calm down.
Yeah.
And then a big one that I use a lot when I'm in the mountains is like opening your gaze, like basically like pulling your eyes up and seeing the surroundings. Because a lot of times you're like, if you're nervous, you're looking down, your body energy is like tight. Close, so if you open your up and you start looking around and then just be like, wow, this place is really beautiful, completely takes you out of like what you're about to do.
Yep. And
then you just are like, you're more present because you're realizing the beauty of where you are. I use that one like a lot. Whenever I'm like super scared to do something, I'll just like, you trick yourself to be like, wow, it's so nice here. Like looking around, looking at the peaks, maybe it's a bluebird day, sun shining. And then you're just like, this is like an opportunity to do something special. And you like changes the way you're thinking about what you're about to do.
Yeah.
And that's so important out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, especially like me with racing or with that, like it's so easy to not enjoy it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And if you like look and you're like, okay, be like a little grateful for like how rare this opportunity is and smile and
totally.
It changes everything.
Yeah. Practice the gratitude. Like, especially for you, be like, this is something I've wanted to do my whole life as a kid.
Yeah.
And now I'm here doing it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Yeah. Because it is. You like it. Sometimes maybe it feels like cause it's the way I make a living, so I can put that pressure on myself. But as soon as I start going that way, I like reel it in really quick because that's like why I do it is like the fun of it and like the adventure and like being out there with like a good group of people and good friends and making amazing moments. But it's sick. Yeah. Like if people are ever interested in that, like there's Rise of Superman is one of the books that I read. It's like all about flow states.
Yeah.
And then it's The Art of Impossible is another one that I read. Both are like this guy, I think his name's Stephen Kotler is the guy that wrote the book. But basically it just gives you all the little tips and hacks on how to how to bring it into everyday life. It's not even, sometimes it could be writing an email to somebody and you can kind of drive into it and be really focused for that moment. Yeah, for sure. It's a weird, it's like a weird, I don't know. It's such a weird thing, a flow state, because it's so hard to explain. It's all different for everybody.
Right.
But when it happens, like you've experienced it 100% when you're racing.
Yeah.
Where you're just like so in it.
Yeah.
And you're not even thinking. You're just doing. You're just letting your body do
Yeah.
it.
And that's like, I think that's the feeling like guys who do extreme sports and stuff chase subconsciously.
100%. Yeah.
Because you get that feeling and it's like, or even like, you know, maybe at the top of a run before you're about to drop in for a competition, like it, you know, you're terribly nervous, but it feels, if you actually like step back and say, how does this feel physically? It feels really good.
Totally. Yeah. Almost lean into that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like always like the one, like if you're nervous, it's because you want it, you know, and like that's a good, but like leaning into that feeling, knowing that I always like it because then I'm like, maybe the reason I'm feeling this way is probably because something special might happen, you know, or like there could be something cool about to go down.
Yeah.
It's like,
have you had like any experiences like that you can articulate, like an out of body experience, or like where you were like third person, just kind of watching yourself?
Like I've had that. I for sure like one of the better flow states I've had was when I got second at the US Open. I remember like so vividly, like did a trick that I hadn't done before in competition, and it was like I was like almost like a passenger, and it was like just everything was happening. I was still like in my first person, but it wasn't like I was thinking about each trick. It just was like it would just happen.
Right.
And it was like the craziest feeling. And I definitely have felt that. Was like the form step down was like one of like an iconic backcountry spot, big step down in Brandywine there. And I hadn't ever hit it before. Really wanted to do like a double cork because it hadn't been done on that feature before. And I remember just dropping in, hitting the lip, and then I completely like blacked out, rode away, and had no idea. But it was like the craziest thing because it just clicked. Like as soon as I left the lip, it was like, oh, you're doing it. And I couldn't even like, it wasn't even like I was there. It was just like riding out like, whoa. It's like full. We call it like clip high when you land something like that. It's like the feeling of pushing yourself to do the trick, but then also knowing that you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see that shot.
Right. Now like that you're filming and stuff, like let's go look at the clip when you get down.
You like chase it. And then too, it's like when you're filming, like if like say we have 3 riders and we all come back to the trucks and we all have like A grade clips, like that feel the filmer's stoked, we're all stoked because everyone got a shot, and it's like you're just euphoric. You're just so fired up.
Yeah. How tough is it when you go out there and like it just doesn't work out? Like you feel like you've just wasted a day.
It's tough for sure. I think what I like about it though is that when it doesn't go right for you, hopefully it goes right for your buddy that you're filming with, and it feels more of like a team camaraderie, more of like you're working together. Like maybe we're all filming for the same project, so like I want my Mikey Rents, for example, I want him to get a shot, or Solers to get a shot just as much as me, because we're all filming for the same project.
Right.
Which I like because when I rode slopestyle, it was very individual and it's all based on your own success, and it still is with backcountry, but it's way more to have like a good solid crew and everyone working together.
Yeah.
And like you can like build off each other. Like you get your shot, but then you're like, okay, now let's get yours. Let's work together and like make this happen. I like that more because we feel like we're all
and you have to, like, you can't just go out there solo out in the backcountry of the mountains.
No, it's like for safety, for like efficiency, it's like you have to have like a solid foundation of crew. And I've been lucky that someone like Mikey Rents and Mark Solers are like 2 of like some of my favorite riders that I watched as a kid. Yeah. And then I got to film with them, and they've been like I've been lucky enough to have them like mentor me and show me the ropes and how to do it, how to snowmobile, how to create a video part. Because I think I didn't realize how to do it until I tried it. Right. And how challenging it is. But those guys have been doing it combined like 35 years of like experience, both of them filming video parts every year. And it's just a different process than showing up to a slopestyle contest knowing that there's 3 jumps, 3 rails, this is my run. Yeah. But then when you're in the backcountry, there's no one telling you to be like, okay, hit this, take off there and do a trick. Or, you know, like it's more, you got to come from yourself. And I like that.
Right. When and I'm assuming it was in your slopestyle career when you're competing, when did you and how did you kind of conceptualize, okay, I'm now going to make a living doing this, you know, I guess, how did your sponsors come about? How did the financial aspect work out?
So I was lucky enough to get an agent when I was 15.
Okay.
Mark McMorris, who's greatest snowboarder of all time for sure. I mean, and in Canada, like absolute legend. He was we kind of like did this little coach session that Sam set up in New Zealand when I was 14. He saw some potential in me. We rode together. He referred me to his agent, was like, you should look at this next, up and coming kid. And my agent, Ninja, Jason Isaacs is his name. He actually got me on Burton when I was 15.
Wow.
Started with just like a travel budget, and I actually rode for Monster at the time too.
Okay.
And
dude, like that, like to ride for Burton as a kid, that must be.
Oh, I remember like being, because for me, I'd never had, my parents were like hooking it up. Like my dad would just like go so heavily into, he had basically just dove his whole life into my snowboarding, which I'm so grateful for. Wouldn't have been where I am now without him, but we'd never seen any sort of like dollars for us to do it. So I started with a travel budget, and then that would pay for my season. So then it took the burden off my parents, and then that would turn into like a salary. So basically at 15, I realized I was like, well, I'm making money to do this, and I'm getting paid. Yeah, kind of hard to wrap my head around at that age, because it happened so fast.
And you're living at home, so you don't really see the expense side of things.
Exactly. And I'm like, wow, I'm a pro snowboarder. Like it's just even now I'm like, fuck, I'm so stoked that it worked out. Like it's kind of crazy. And I still ride for Burton now, so it's been 11 years that I've been on the program, and they're like, yeah, it's a really hard industry to break into, but if you can kind of like, base your just surely like just go on like progression and like being better for yourself. Like I don't think I always looked at it as I need to like do this event or this event. I just was like stepping stones. If I did this, then maybe I'd get there, and if I did this, maybe I'd get there.
Right.
Kind of fell in the lap of each other, I guess, is a way to describe it.
But, so go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
Well, now like, and you still have the same agent?
Same agent, yeah. Okay.
So is he out hunting sponsors for you? Like, and how active are you in that process? Because I mean, I imagine that's where your money's coming from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, yeah. I think a big one is like, obviously the agent can help you, but it's creating your own relationships within the companies that I ride for, like being more involved with Burton and like the R&D, and trying to be like, let's help them not only promote their products, but let's make better boards, better gear. And like, they appreciate that more than, it's not just the riding side of things. It's like everything, like
add value to them.
Yeah, like we just did this Burton Mystery Series event in Snow Valley back in January. I flew from Vancouver just for 2 days just to come ride with the kids, and that impact it has on the brand, that's kind of the stuff that they're looking for, more than just, you kind of have to do it all. You're trying to be like a spokesperson for the company in a way. It's the same with like Rockstar. I've been riding for them for 6 years now, and like, it's really cool. At that time right now, they've kind of been revamping their career, a lot more of like filmers and people riding like street riding and backcountry. So they're kind of trying to like change the image a little bit of like what they're after, which is, I'm really stoked to be a part of that.
Right.
They have like really good movements and stuff like that.
So how did the conversation go, I guess, with your sponsors who are funding your career, saying, hey, I'm done competing in slopestyle, I want to go film in the backcountry and do this now, like a full switch?
That was stressful for sure, because I didn't really know what was going to happen, to be honest, because I knew that I wanted to do it, but I was really nervous that my brands wouldn't
support you,
because ultimately at that time they're like, he's in the X Games, he's doing those events, like that was my thing.
Yeah.
And then I completely was like, I'm not going to do any contests. I'm just going to film. But I think that's rad about the snowboard industry, is that it's so respected, and like it's people understand like how important the filming side of things is, and I hope that like can always stay, because that's like, when I said, they're like, oh yeah, makes complete sense. Like, we support you, we want it. And it was definitely a little tough because it was right during COVID, so everything kind of shifted. Like my deals dropped, and then I was like, making decent money and then had to like take a cut.
Yeah.
And then I was like grinding because I was like, okay, if I can do well. So it kind of really lit a fire under my ass to be like, let's get it.
Yeah.
Because it definitely changed. Like it was like on a good up, and then definitely dropped down for like 2 years there. So I just realized that if I wanted to do this, and if my brands like Rockstar and Burton wanted to keep supporting me, I had to show them that, you know, they want people that are at the front end, like the leading the progression of backcountry snowboarding. So I just kind of was like, you know, buckled down, and ultimately it's what I always wanted to do.
Sure.
So it was like a lot of things snowballed and to make that happen, but
right.
Bit stressful for sure.
Yeah.
When you're, you know, I had the back burner. I was like, maybe I'll just be a snowboard coach. I'll be like talking to the national team. I was like, can I coach with you guys? Because I needed a backup plan.
Sure.
If it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think sometimes it's good to bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And be like, let's just try it.
Well, the reward is huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can definitely, go both ways, but I think it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So explain for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're filming with Burton, they're putting out their own movie.
Yeah. So
it's tied in.
Tied in, yeah. The first movie I did was the King Snow movie, which is a Canadian magazine.
Okay.
So Burton would like pay my basically buy in.
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
How do movies work? Because it costs a lot of money to make a ski or snowboard movie.
Yeah.
And sponsors buy in and then put their athlete in the movie, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
So like, for example, the King Snow movie would be like, they would pay, you know, it could be anywhere from like $10,000 to $20,000 to have their rider in the project. Then they would get all the assets, all the footage, like,
right,
so that they can post it on their channels and everything. So basically at the start of the year, but it's kind of funny because too, you're buying in before you even like film.
Yeah.
So you're like, and for me, I had never filmed the video part.
Yeah.
I had, luckily, the year before, I filmed for One World, and I did 2 days of filming, and I got 3 shots.
Okay.
So in my mind, I was like, if I can get 10 sunny days,
right,
I'm gonna get 20 clips. I'm gonna have a full part, and that was my like weird way to like wrap my head around it. But then the next winter I realized that's like, that does not happen that easy.
Yeah.
I think I just got lucky with those days.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a grind, but then I ended up getting the opening part in the King Snow movie.
Cool.
Which is like in snowboarding and skiing too. If you get like the opener ender, it means that you might like, you have like some of the best shots of the video. So I remember actually like I cried when I watched my video part for the first time because of how much it meant to me, and like I got to use my like favorite band, Future Islands.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like it like really took me over because of like everything too, like quitting the national team, leaving that side of snowboarding that I had done for like 16 years of my life, was so heavily focused on that, and then just to leave it all, you know, get a pay cut and be like, okay. And then for it to work, I was just like, holy shit. Like, it really came over me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
And especially, like, man, having an opening part in a video, and I'm sure you were the same way. Like, I would burn DVDs to the ground over the course of the winter just watching movies.
Dude, over and over again. Yeah, like, I remember me and Mike Rotzart would watch, like, the same, like, sandbox videos, like, all day, every day. We'd watch it every day, going to the hill. And like, that was like, I grew up watching movies and video parts, and that was like that's how we consume snowboarding. It's definitely different now for the next generation, but I think it's cool that we're still like in the industry making sure movies are a part of the snowboard community and culture.
Yeah.
Because in skiing too, it's so important to have that. You know, you don't get to see the clips, then your favorite rider is putting out this project, and you're like, I'm still like that with every other rider.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, when like, I'm like, Arthur Longo's dropping new clips. I'm like, oh, this is going to be insane. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the TikTokification of like clips and, you know, like instant, like some guy does a crazy trick and it's posted that day kind of thing?
Yeah. It's a really weird scenario, the way I think personally you need both.
Sure.
Like, for the way to be a pro snowboarder, you need to be putting out stuff pretty constantly, and for the brands like for Rockstar and Burton, they want content like quickly, and because that's how we're marketing their gear and their drinks and stuff like that. So I just think it's tough because, yeah, like you said, you have the instant gratification. Where what I like about filming video part is that, you know, you film all winter, and then maybe you tell your like girlfriend or your buddy that you're like, oh yeah, I have some like good shots, like it's pretty sweet, and then for it all to come out and you're at a premiere and someone's seen it for the first time, that feeling, and I think for the feeling of the viewer is even more special.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think you need both. I just hope that side of snowboarding never leaves because it's important. Like
it's part of the culture.
It's part of the culture. It's where we started, and it's like it's how you know. I remember going to premieres when I was a kid and getting to see my favorite snowboarders live and in person, and it kind of builds the persona of like that kind of thing.
Yeah, like the superstar.
Yeah, and like
movie star.
Yeah, no, I just think it's cool to have. You need both, but the TikTok's funny because I find even on my Instagram sometimes the clips that I don't think will do that well do extremely well. Like maybe it's just like an iPhone follow cam through some powder that I just throw up, and then it gets like 1 million views, and I'm like, what the heck? And then like something that I'm like, I did this cab 9 down the step down, and I'm like, that was insane. And you're like, oh, I didn't really get many. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's it's the core fan wants that, and then like maybe the public wants like the mass public where you're gonna maybe catch somebody's eye that doesn't snowboard and or doesn't even be a part of the mountains. Maybe that'll like catch their attention and be like, oh, maybe I want to like try it.
Sure.
You know, it the masses of it. It's hard to argue that it's bad. I guess I don't know.
No.
What do you think?
No, it's definitely not bad, and I'm blanking on who it was. It was like a skate video back in the day where there was nothing really technical in it, but he made everything look super fun and like accessible.
Yeah.
And that's something I love, obviously, is like just being a complete amateur skier, but like I could see myself doing that.
Totally.
So I think that's where it kind of goes to the masses, and it's like, oh, these guys are having a boatload of fun. He hit that hit that I think I could hit, you know?
Totally.
And I think there's an aspect there.
That's like my biggest, like what I enjoy so much is going out on the resort and filming side hits. Like that's like when I'm not filming in the backcountry, I'll go ride side hits with my homies. Sometimes I'll just put up my iPhone and do like selfie cam, hike a side hit by myself. But exactly what you said is that I think people love it because they can relate to it. They're like, I would hit that. I would try to ride that. And that's like my best performing clips or side hit videos on the mountain, and it's something that I just love doing because it feels like you're a kid, you know. You're playing around on like a little 3-foot jump, but you're trying to go 30 feet down into this like weird landing, and if it works great. It's like I love that people love those clips because it makes me I like just keep going doing it. It's like the funnest
and you
thing.
can just go ride the chairlift and go do it.
Oh yeah. It's sick, and it's so good for your riding. Like when I stopped competing, I kind of like realized I was like, I don't think I need to ride as much park because I didn't think the park would help me get better at riding backcountry
because it's so just perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no imperfections. The lips perfectly groomed, and the lips are so long. Something I didn't realize is backcountry is
backcountry.
Like, you know, I might be hitting a step down and it's like the takeoff is 3 feet long and my run in is 10 feet long.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do a trick, and it's like you never get that feeling in the park. So now I've been really enjoying just riding around Whistler and not in the park, but trying to do tricks. Maybe I see this little bump. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could 540 that.
Yeah.
And then that relates to like riding big mountain and like backcountry terrain because it's all about like adapting as it's happening and trying to like feel, looking at this little bump, you're like, I wonder how my board's gonna react when I hit this.
Yeah.
Then sometimes you get bucked.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. So, but learning how to like recognize hits and how your board is gonna react. So how to stand on it is something that, I've loved. It's actually like, I mean, I just now get so fired up, but like it's changed my whole perspective on snowboarding, which is sick.
Yeah.
Because I used to be so like, I need to go to the park. I need to do a 1260. I need to do this trick. And then now I look at a good day on the hill as like, oh man, I hit that side hit and I landed switch, or like I did a switch backside air on this little side hit. And in my mind, that's like how I look at the day.
Yeah.
But before it'd be like, did I do a 1260?
Right.
And then now it's like, oh no, you rode that line kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like completely switched the way I look at it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love like the push towards everyone riding fast too, like down like sketchy shit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just posted this clip of me riding right underneath the chair in Jersey Cream. Just put the GoPro right in my mouth.
In Whistler.
Yeah, and just like charging through like Chunder and trying to do tricks.
Yeah.
And people were like loving it, but I loved it too, because that you get adrenaline rush, and then you like your legs are all fired up, and I feel like I became better at snowboarding after that.
Yeah, to be able to ride that shit.
Yeah, and then in my mind, I'm like, if I can ride this bumpy, moguled out terrain, when it's powder, it's gonna be pretty easy,
Right?
Or like easier,
Right.
Less. Obviously, there's way more variables, but I'm always looking for like the next way to like I said, like my whole career or sport has been like looking more at the progression, and then letting like the work, like go to the results, I guess, in a way. Like, you put in the effort, then you'll get the accolades or everything. Like rather than focusing on what you're doing.
Right. I personally, I love that, like what social media has done where, like riding the hill, you can just put out stuff. Like I look at a guy like Sean Pettit, right?
Yeah.
Who's just completely hung up his skis.
Yeah, now he's a snowboarder, yeah.
And what he does, and he doesn't do, doubles or anything, but he makes it look fun. And I think that's why, his clips do so well.
Totally, and like why he's still supported, because people want like I said, you need all aspects. Like I think perfect example, he has that like gnarly persona where he was the best skier for whatever, like 10 years in a row. He was winning skier of the year.
Yeah, doing like 360s off like 150 footers.
Yeah. But then you see him and go like pick up snowboarding, and you're like, oh wow, like it's still like, yeah, it's fun, it's relatable, and it makes you want to get out there and ride. Like that's ultimately what I like to do too, is just I want people to be like, I want to go snowboard.
Yeah.
Like that's the bottom line. Even when I'm filming too, like I try to make it look effortless, look graceful, and look fun. Like I obviously want to do gnarly things, but if I can make the gnarly thing look fun and nice, then that's like my goal. Because I've never really had like, I've always like tried to like not flail. Like my style has been like, I think
tight.
Why I've been able to keep doing it, maybe in a way. It's weird because style is all very, everyone has an opinion on style, but at least the way I look at my writing is like if I can make it look nice.
Yeah, it's funny how much, people who are outsiders, like how much they don't realize how much of a performance art it is.
Yeah, I know, and I think too we're like barreling into this conversation. It's probably like, what are they talking about? But yeah, it's like the great piece of advice. Mark Solers, who's like probably one of the best styles in snowboarding. He's like always like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I always think about that now, because it's like you said, it could be a 180, but it's the way it's done. And like the little weird, like very minute details that maybe like you poked your board a little different, the way you landed. And like, I like that. Like you almost like nerd out on little intricacies, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is for the viewer. Like to, even if you're the viewer, but it is like so much for sitting down at the end of the day, watching it.
Yeah.
Like, that looked good. And it'll be almost something that's inarticulate, like, or intangible, but it'll do 2 million views because it looked like really good.
Or like just the way it was. Like I like one of my favorite snowboarders, Mikkel Bang, who was on that I already got to ride with, but he's like been my favorite snowboarder since I was a kid. Now I get to ride with him, which is a trip. But watching the way he maneuvers his board, it's like it's just the little things, like the way he turns and the way he like scrubs speed.
Yep.
Is like graceful, It's like, but he's like charging down a full AK line, but making it look like he's riding a cat track.
Right.
Yeah, it's like kind of crazy.
So when did you move to Whistler? Like,
I would have
grown up in
moved.
Ontario.
Yeah, I moved to Whistler right when I got on the national team, so I was 18.
Okay.
So it's been 8 years that I've lived there.
Was that a big like lifestyle adjustment, like going out on your own kind of thing?
Yeah, totally, for sure. At that time too, like, get a little deeper is that my dad passed away in October of 2014.
So right at that time.
Right at that time, and I always remember just being like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I could move, but his passion for my snowboarding and like the way we shared that, like, I'm like wish he was still here, and it's really tough, but I'm always like snowboarding for him, and that time was like, I think having snowboarding got me through that time,
Right.
because you know you could get into doing bad stuff because you're like at that time but all I wanted to do was just get better at snowboarding.
Right.
And Whistler was a good place for that because you could shred every day, and you could ride from, the mountain opens in November and ends end of May.
Right.
So there's like a lot of time to snowboard.
Right.
And I just almost used it as my therapy
Sure.
to like, I just like dove into it even more than I had.
Right.
And prior.
Yeah, because it is like you can go as deep as you want mentally into that type of activity, and it'll take you right out of your mind.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, it pulls you out of it, where sometimes you're just you're thinking of what's happening in front of you, and you don't think about what's happened in the past. So it's definitely, looking at it now, I'm like, well, I was grateful that I had snowboarding to like get me through that time.
For sure.
Because I was young, and losing a parent, especially someone like my dad, definitely was gut wrenching. Like I remember just being so sad for a long time, but every time I'd get on my snowboard, I could like smile,
right,
and be happy. So
right. So is that advice for someone to just like, if they're struggling or hurting, or to just dive into something?
I would say like something that's like tangible, and like you can like, even if it's like drawing, or like maybe it's like you're skateboarding and learn how to kickflip, like something on that scale where you can take your brain away from what you're doing. Because I think that's like the whole point of like hobbies, is like getting out of what your life might be, or like it's in a weird way. So I'd say too, anyone going through that, like losing a parent, it's always nice to talk to other people that have gone through it. That's how I got through it, I think, was the big one. Yeah, like just knowing that other people have gone through it and they're okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, then I'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll happen to everyone.
Exactly. It's not like but if you're not open about talking about it, I don't think you won't know that like the person next to you, you're like, oh yeah, my mom passed away when I was 13 or something like that, where you would have had no idea. And
sure.
But I think it's good to talk about it.
Right. What is it like living in Whistler? It's like, I imagine it's quite the party if you're susceptible to that kind of thing.
For sure. And snowboard scene, like we like to snowboard, and we like to also party.
Yeah.
It's like it goes hand in hand, which can be a little hard to navigate sometimes, but I been good because I don't live in the village like proper. So I like remove myself. So if I'm going in there, like I'm like gonna have to take a taxi. It's like more of a process.
Yeah.
Still like have the days for sure. And I think that's like too, what I love about it is like when you have a good day, celebrating that good day with your friends, it's like the whole process of it.
Yeah. Not
just the snowboarding. It's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I think that will like keep you wanting to do it for a long time.
For sure.
Because it's like you're enjoying it all. Like even the shitty parts of it. Maybe the snow sucked that day and your sled broke, or you're like got stuck a bunch because the snow's like all snotty. But then you're still like looking at your buddy and you're like, oh, this is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny how much the après is a part of the culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like having a beer at the lot after a good day, or like, it's like, that's like the reward.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Same with like cycling and stuff, guys,
Yeah.
afterwards.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's like, the culture of it. It doesn't even have to be like if you don't want to drink, it's like just that moment of like, I don't know, just like appreciating the day. Because it takes you, it's like let's talk about the day
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how fun it was,
Yeah.
rather than just like going home and not talking about it. I don't know.
Totally. No, it's like it really is turning on, like dialing up the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could go out there, and even though it's the sickest thing in the world to go snowmobile and
Yeah.
ski and
Yeah. Have a
and
good day on the
have
hill.
a good day,
Yeah.
you could just go home and just sit on your couch and
Yeah.
it's over.
But if you can, like, you get to relive that, like, oh man, I remember I was following you and you did that slash. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it makes you feel like a kid. Yeah. I'm definitely very, very grateful that I get to do it. And yeah, it's like a dream come true, but it's ever changing. Like you gotta just keep crushing, keep moving, keep like motivating yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Travis Rice before we started recording. He's 40.
Yeah.
And still absolutely at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Killing it.
For sure. He just won both of the natural selection tour stops. So yeah, I look at someone like that as a huge inspiration, and for what he's doing to the sport. He's creating this amazing competition that we get to, like, I never thought I'd get to go to, like, Alaska. And
yeah, explain what natural selection is.
Yeah, so Natural Selection Tour is a tour started by Travis Rice and Liam Griffin, who's on the more of like the logistics side, and this is the third year now, and it's basically like the best way I describe it is like a big mountain freestyle event, and they've started in Jackson Hole where they have like a full course that they build in the summer.
Yeah.
Have booters, they make landings, and then they let the snow come, and then it's just like this like ultimate showdown.
Right.
And I think it's really cool because it's showing snowboarding in a new environment where you're getting to watch, because they really make it sure, like, really cool venues, really cool terrain, and good snow, like, ultimately is what we're trying to make happen. So as a viewer, like, that was my favorite event to watch, because it was, you'd have someone like Gigi Ruff and Austin Sweden riding together in a contest, and these guys that you've just been watching filming your whole life, and then now they're like live on your TV, and you're getting to watch sick powder and these amazing lines. It's like, it brings like the contest, like the slopestyle like event, but then it kind of changes it into a more, I feel like, digestible watching, because it's head to head, right? It's head to head.
Yeah.
And it's tricks that, that an average snowboarder would be like, I can get a front 3 around, or I can land a front 5, but then it's them doing it on huge, crazy cliffs. But I think it's really cool because you can definitely dive into it and feel that feeling of, like, as everyone knows, at least if you're a snowboarder or skier and you've gotten the sense of like what it's like to ride a little bit of powder, it's like, it changes your whole perspective. And I think that's what the tour is trying to do, is just share that on like a big scale and like make it, like almost attached to it, where riders, you can see like someone like Travis is like, I'm like blown away with his riding. And Mickelbang is a perfect example. When he was in Alaska this year and I got to be there, and watching him ride live was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. He just was just riding like an absolute legend. Like, it just, everything was happening and clicking, and seeing something like that live and then getting to watch it too after and sharing it with other people is really cool.
How do you get invited to that? Like, that's such an elite group of guys.
Yeah. So I was just lucky enough to film that King Snow part that I opened. And then the year after, we did a movie called Arc that Danny Davis started. And he kind of funded and put it all together, and I ended up getting the closing part in that video.
Sick.
And the way they look at it is like what you're doing within the snowboard community. So they look at your video parts, they look at what kind of terrain you're riding. So I got invited because of that.
Okay.
And it's pretty crazy because I had made it a goal of mine to get there. Like, after leaving national team, I was like, okay, 5-year plan. Like, let's, like, national, at that time, natural selection was already like a year in, and I was like, oh man, this is like,
that's the ultimate goal.
If I could get there, it'd be insane. And then it happened 3 years, so it felt like it happened a little quick, and I definitely had to like learn quickly. But I'm really grateful that I got the opportunity, because now I think it's like, it's changed the way I ride.
Yeah.
And without that, and seeing like the men and women like just absolutely do insane things in front of you makes you realize that you're like, oh, I'm capable of more.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like
it's
in a weird
funny
way.
how that works
Yeah.
too. Like you see something that you think is just like a death cliff, and then someone 360s it. And
Totally.
you're like, well, just like in the park, if someone hits it with the right speed, it's technically doable. So I could hit it with the same speed as that guy, and I could do it.
Yeah, it opens it up. It opens your mind to it when you watch someone do that. Like even it was in Alaska, Elena rode this line that no one else had rode on the quarterfinals, like the first phase 3 road, and she rode it like insane. Like I think it was the best run of the day on that face, and we're all like, how did we not see that? Like it was. Right. But it's just like that kind of stuff shows you that you're like, oh, I didn't realize. You're like, maybe enter here, and that cliff that looked scary actually had a perfect landing.
Yeah.
But it opens your mind to it.
So I watched Revelstoke in Alaska.
Yeah.
The Revelstoke one looked bananas.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll pull up a clip like after I'll put it in this. Like there was some like death cliffs.
Oh yeah.
And where was it?
It was in Selkirk, Tangiers, like terrain that they have. So it would have been like we were in Revelstoke, took a 20-minute flight out towards the mountains.
Yeah.
In this remote location. It was pretty amazing. They'd had like full Starlink. It was, I think, the first of its kind ever have like a live broadcast.
Wow.
In the mountains.
From just deep in the mountains.
Deep in the mountains. Like it was so strange. Like all of it's live. And then the riding, like I was first time doing anything like that. And the days leading up to it, we have like, they give us like a photo of the face and you're like studying it.
Yeah.
And then they give us drone footage. So they have like Gab, the drone pilot, fly all the lines. So you can just like study.
Oh, that's helpful.
Helpful a lot. But I was like looking at, my favorite riders like Ben Ferguson and Mikkel were staying together and Zoe. And they're all like, they had done this contest before, like natural selection. And they're just studying. And I'm like, is this what you guys do all the time? Like this seems like crazy.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like this terrain is so complex because all the trees and everything, trying to find your line.
Yeah.
Because all the trees look the same. So you're basically like, I would be like, okay, I'm going to hit this drop. I'm going to take 2 turns. I'm going to see those 3 trees.
Yeah.
Turn right. And then like, you're like going through it in your brain before you even ride it. But you still like, my first run, I like wanted to drop off this cliff and then come over and gap this like runnel. Didn't realize how big the drop in was there. Got sloughed out and I got into this like tiger trap with rocks above me on either side. Yeah. And I'm like, what are we doing here? But learned a lot because then Travis rode the line. He followed my line, his next run. And the way he entered was like, oh, you didn't have to air it. He like kind of rode it in and then aired over the thing.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I was like, okay, like learned something.
Right.
Like I looked at it as a straight learning experience, especially Revelstoke because of how gnarly it was. I was like, I just want to come out here
alive.
Yeah. And then hopefully I learned something.
Right.
Because we all, like all of the riders after we were like had a dinner and I'm just glad that ultimately it was a great show and everyone was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was some of the most intense. Like watching Travis ride those pillow lines, I just don't even understand. Like his board control is insane.
Yeah.
Like to have that finesse, because thing with that course that's tough when you're in Alaska, there's not trees. Like you got cliffs, rocks, slough to deal with. But in Revi, there was just like giant trees everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you went the wrong way, you could just get pinned up against a tree.
Yeah.
So that's like... But it was, such a crazy experience. And like I said, I'm just like, now I'll probably won't look at terrain the same way because of that.
Right.
Like what's possible.
Right.
And how you can ride it. But
I think for people who have never ridden anything that's completely blind.
Yeah.
How big an adjustment it is to get up there and go, oh, I have no idea. Am I even close to the right spot? Like I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
And
you know what exactly it's like to ride pillows, like you're trying to figure out.
Yeah, you're right here at the bottom. You're like, am I even close? Is that the tree we were talking about? Right?
Yeah.
And the way you put it, like, you'd have to. I couldn't imagine how much you'd have to steady and have it just down like that, like 2 turns.
Yeah.
Brush my shoulder off this tree tight here, like
totally.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I was trying to like, I was trying to figure out all the ways to do it because I was watching the way that, Ben and Mikko were looking and studying. I was like, so like you can like count your turns in between, and I never thought of like doing that because you can look at the slope and be like, okay, I'm gonna like land here, toe side, heel side, toe side, cut right, see this, and then you're like, I'm like doing it now. I can like visualize where I was trying to ride, and it definitely, with that kind of thing, you bring that style and that like heavy focus into like that, and then say you bring it into like filming.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a line or looking at a feature, it kind of can help you ride it better.
Sure. Yeah,
and like see the potential that maybe that face or that zone didn't have, and then you look at it more and you can find something in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys leave Revelstoke, and then the next stop is Alaska.
Yeah. So
and that was your first time riding like big shit.
Yeah. So this year was a year of stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I guess is like, the way I've been looking at it, because there's so many moments where it was a first.
Yeah.
First time riding Revelstoke, big pillows, first time riding Alaska. And Alaska's like where we were in Valdez is some of like the longest and steepest runs. But we like so fun. Like if you were just there riding and you're not trying to like ride the gnarly shit, it's like long sustained panels, and you get to the top. Which was cool there is that it was blind right at the top, but then once you got there, it's so steep that you could see
right to the
bottom.
Okay.
So it was like almost like all in front of you.
Yeah.
And then you're just trying to like figure out where your line is. But it is really cool with natural selection is that they give us all the drone footage. So each line, each spine is droned and filmed.
Yeah.
So then you can like, I'm looking at that at the top and studying, being like, okay, that rock's gonna be on my left. Then I'm gonna turn. And I'm gonna know that my drop is right there.
Yeah.
So you can really like feel like you're doing it as much as you can. But it definitely helped me because my first run there, when we were talking about that back three I did, and like I remember getting into it, and I actually like came up over the blind roll, saw the whole face, and I like giggled a little bit because I was like, oh, I got this. Like I could see it all.
Yep.
And it was like that feeling. Oh, it was like crazy. Like everything, boom, land the jump, do a heel side to toe side, launch the back three, go way bigger than I expected.
It's massive. Yeah.
Because I don't think I understood the scale and the size of it. I was just more like, let's just ride it.
Yeah.
I remember landing and just being like, and I came into the runnel and the snow was all like, because where the runnels are, that's where the snow flushes. So it's never really good powder. And I was like, like trying to save it.
Yeah.
But coming down to the bottom, I was like screamed. I was like, yeah, like that was like a full like crazy moment. Because like you said, I'd never, coming from riding Ontario. Yeah. And then I find myself there on top of a big mountain line in Alaska, and like an event that I've like dreamed of. I was just, it's hard for me somehow. Like I always just look at it like I'm like a happy-go-lucky guy, and that's like I always like revert to that. So I think maybe it's one of my downfalls because I just love to just enjoy the experience, and I'm not like too concerned about how I do, but I'm like I'm still like out there, so it's working.
Yeah, I'm sure you're downplaying how competitive you probably are.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is like, I forget where someone was saying, or like the number one regret on your deathbed is not allowing yourself to enjoy life more. It's like people taking things so seriously.
Totally,
like, there was so much low-hanging fruit of enjoyment that I just didn't allow myself to enjoy.
Because of you're focused on the wrong thing. Yeah. And I think that like too, seeing my dad pass away, and like he had the same kind of attitude on life, and it got cut short for him. And I think it just made me realize that you kind of have to just, whatever scenario, if you can enjoy it and like live it up. Yeah. Because that was my dad's motto. Like he would just give her, like that was his thing.
That's good.
Even when he knew it was ending, it was like, it's still have some fun.
Right.
And I think I've taken that definitely into my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially you're in the right profession.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm lucky doing the right sport that allows you to just kind of send it and see what's possible. But yeah, Alaska was incredible.
So how would the average guy say that you're a good skier or whatever, and you do heli trips, you're some executive or something, but you can ski. Is it possible for guys like that to go do ski Alaska?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. Like the heli op we were with called Pulse Line Adventure. So like the first day we did just like a client day, like basically clientship, and there was like I think there would have been 10 other people, like from a couple people from like Tahoe. There's some people from I think Utah that were out there skiing.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like it's expensive. That's the thing
Sure.
about Alaska is like I think that day we did our client, it was about $2,000 Canadian.
Yep.
You get 5 runs, and those 5 runs are like would be maybe like 1,500 meters of.
Yep.
So they're big. Like you're
each run.
Each run, yeah, like
a big run.
You're going all the way to like from the top of the mountain all the way down to the valley.
Yep.
And yeah, like if that's something within people's budgets, I think it's incredible. Like it's the feeling you get.
Yeah,
riding that because it's just the long sustained, like continued steeps that are just for a skier or a snowboarder, it'll change your whole life. You'll start chasing that more. But yeah, it's cool. Even in BC and Canada, we have really good heliops.
Yeah.
And like places like that I've been fortunate enough to go to, like Baldface Lodge.
Okay.
Is a cat op.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's like a heli-in lodge. You're at the top of the mountain. You're right near Nelson, and they have 3 cats. And you go out, and they put roads in everywhere.
Right.
And you're riding just like they space the trees so you can like rip and go fast through trees. Yeah, that place is a special one. If like people are looking to go somewhere like that, I would highly recommend.
So, where's your next, I guess, challenge? Like I look at the only thing that you haven't done is that mountaineering stuff. Like really.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but like that, because that is.
Do you tour at all?
No, mainly like all like sled access.
Yeah.
But yeah, that side of snowboarding is intense. Like that's when you start bringing in way more variables. Where I like to try to control the variables. Like we like to get, and that's the big thing about backcountry is like. For me, it's like the safety of it because ultimately the goal is like to get shots and like feel that feeling. But getting back to the trucks and everyone's safe is like the huge goal. And I do like an avalanche course every year and trying to like get my just proficient in the knowledge of like how to rescue somebody, how to triage. Like we do first aid courses too to like learn how to take care of somebody because we're lucky in Canada that we have, volunteer. Like
search and
rescue and people will come and grab you, but that could take 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to like, we carry big extra super puffs, like big AK puffies. And then I have like a sleeping mat so I can bring somebody off the snow, and we have all of our splints. We have like pretty much everything that you can at least try to help. It could be me, it could be my buddy helping them.
Yeah.
Helping
get down or
be
comfortable until someone comes.
Totally. And then like so if you're going to the mountaineering, that just gives a whole nother aspect of safety that I don't know if I'm willing to. I like risk, but that my tolerance to risk I think ends there. Yeah. Like that's like the whole thing we talk about a lot is like the course we do is called the risk maturity course.
Okay.
So it's like what you're accepting.
Yep.
Like your risk. And I think it's important, especially in the mountains, to have a group that's always on the same page.
Totally.
So that you're not somebody that's like, I'm about to get crazy today.
You're
like, wait. Let's reel it in. You got like acceptable risk and like talking about your feelings and just trying to be more vulnerable, because if you can do that, then everybody in the group feels like they have a say. Yeah. Which is like, they call it, it's called like the halo or something effect, ego halo. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But when you put trust in somebody that might have more experience than you because they've been doing it more. But
one of the worst like avalanches, I forget how many guys were buried, and I think it was, if I'm not wrong, it was the deepest rescue. It was like some stupid number of meters deep. Yeah. And the entire group were all guides in Rogers Pass. Yeah. And it was that exact effect. Like,
everyone the halo effect.
Not sure, like, why are we going here? This is a little sketchy, but so and so knows
must
more.
Know in front of you. Yeah, totally. And it's like kind of scary when that happens, because then no one speaks up, because it's like you just assume the person with more experience is already thought about it, but
Yeah.
then that person might be not thinking about it. So yeah, it's cool that to like learning that side of snowboarding, it's really cool to like have a group of people that you can trust and have those conversations where you're like, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable right now.
Yeah, like right now we're exposed.
Yeah, like let's move, or like I'm not what I'm seeing with the mountains. Like I'm seeing shedding, I'm seeing a lot of wind. I'm seeing like natural avalanches. Like just talking about that, bringing it up to your group. If anyone's getting into backcountry, like obviously take your AST one course to start, but starting with like having that open conversation, like even in the morning before you go out, like being like, okay, what are our hazards today? Like what's our avalanche rating? Like, so you actually have a plan. So you're not just going in there fully blind and being like, oh, whoa, that's an avalanche.
Yeah.
You're like, you should be talking about that. It's cool in Canada, like how much money they put into avalanche research. Like, like Avalanche Canada, like how many surveyors we have going out every day into the mountains to like read the snowpack and give you an idea of what's underneath your feet. It's really rad. Like we have like an awesome.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't appreciate that.
Totally. Like someone's going out there and digging pits every day in the gnarliest weather and checking the snowpack for us to like then feel.
To just go on a website.
Yeah. And be like, oh, cool.
It's
considerable.
green today.
Going for it. You're like, okay. But yeah, it's so I think, going back, I think my risk tolerance is like that, where I'm like, I don't think I need to involve ropes and ice axing and all that, but eventually like it'd be cool to like guide and that kind of stuff, but because you need to have all your ropes training, because like crevasse rescue and stuff like that. But and if you want to like belay like or like someone into a line, but in my mind I'm like, I don't think I should be riding that if I have to like
climb down.
That's probably not the right run for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like still, like I said, trying to make it look fun but gnarly.
Yep.
And I think that's just too gnarly.
Sure.
But I like, there's like.
But maybe more even just, say you leave the ropes at home, but like having a big objective. Like there's got to be some satisfaction being like, okay, we're going to summit this today. Yeah. And back to the car. Like,
totally. Or like doing a big sled lap, or having like you said, objectives of like getting that line that you've been like waiting for, but you have to wait for the right stability and the weather, and then the wind starts like coming into a factor. So if you can get that checked off your list, for sure. And that's what Alaska felt like. Yeah. Because I was so nervous for what it was like, and because I had a lot of unknowns, and I didn't understand. Like I was just like trying to figure out how big it was and everything. So to check that one off, it makes me want to go back and do it again, because I felt like I just got a little bit of it. Like, right. I wish that I got to like move on to the next round and keep riding, but it motivates me to get back there. Right. Yeah.
So are you kind of, I know you focus, it sounds like you focus so much on your riding. Yeah. And then there's also the business aspect. How much thought do you put into starting a YouTube channel or things like that? Like really trying to push the number of eyeballs on yourself?
Yeah, it's I think in the past 2 years, I think I've focused more on that too, because I've just realized that for me to keep doing it, I need to like grow my following, like the YouTube thing, just like you said. Like I started my YouTube channel a month ago. Okay. And I'm like, hey, well, like I just
subscribe.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I did like a little full part on there, and I want to like. It's hard because it's so easy not to do it.
It's so hard to do it.
It's so hard to do it.
Yeah.
And with like Instagram and TikTok, it's like I can go out and film a clip, or I get a clip in the backcountry, or that I'm not going to use. I can just throw it up, put a song. Yep. But the process of making more of a YouTube video is something I'm interested, because I think you can give your audience a bit more, like something, maybe a bit more feeling of like who you are and like what you're about. Where like Instagram, I just like post clips and
and then throw this up on your YouTube.
I know I should. Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah. Maybe, that's a perfect idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think people do like once, like there's a level to the funnel, right? Like there's the million views that are like, oh, they're just snowboarding with a fun song. Yeah. All the way down to like someone wanting to listen to this.
Yeah,
and it's like so
exactly.
in depth. Like, how did you start? How does
How do you do it all?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and you can grab maybe a bit someone that really like resonates with your story or like what you're about. And yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think there's some guys like Torstein Horgmo. He's had a YouTube channel forever and he's been crushing it.
Okay.
Still making videos to this day, and I've like always watched them. So
Right.
and I think too, like you said, business side, you have to like in snowboarding, it's really hard because so many people want to do it, and you got to make yourself like, yeah, you're marketing yourself in a weird way, and sometimes that can feel like forced. Like for me, I just like to ride and let that be the voice of what I'm doing, but I'm realizing that I think I need to do more even just to like keep it going.
Yeah.
Because I have like this, I'm like living my dream, and I'm like, I wanted to keep doing this until I can't move anymore.
Right. Right.
If I can keep getting like paid to snowboard in a way that like is still like the sponsors I have, like Burton Rockstar, they still feel like they're getting the right value, and I'm giving them that. I'm going to keep trying to do it for as long as I can, because I believe I can. Like I believe I can keep that a certain level of riding and the product that I can put out. I know that I can keep doing it.
Right.
And that's almost like the back burner of the motivation why I'm like, okay, if I can do YouTube, maybe I can keep doing it for longer. And I think that's my whole life of snowboarding is just how can I keep snowboarding?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
and not get a job.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm so lucky, and it obviously takes hard work, but I just keep being like, hey, same thing. I was like, no more national team. Okay, film video parts, like something you want to do, but then you're like, but you got to do it. Like I like nerd out. I'll write out a trick list, and then during the season, I write every shot I have.
Okay. Yeah.
And I write the location so that I know, like for the next season, I'm like, okay, I filmed this clip there. I probably can go back and get this shot.
Right.
And I start like thinking about the whole, like the process and learning that side of it. You definitely can like nerd out on it, but
how much say do you get on where you guys are going?
Yeah, it's all based on
all
us.
based on the riders.
Yeah,
and the filmer will just come with you guys.
Yeah, like Gabe Langlois, who films with us, is like he's probably like one of the most legendary snowboard filmers in our industry.
Okay,
and he used to be a pro rider, so he's like sick to film with because he looks at terrain like how he'd ride it too, and be like, "Yo, this is sick," because he can visualize himself riding it. And then it makes me be like, oh, yeah, that is dope. Like, we feed off each other. And the same with, like, our crew, like, Rent and Solars. Like, we work together to be like, okay, what are you after today? Maybe, like, I want to go ride a jump, but Mikey wants to ride a line. So then we're just trying to, like, work together to find everybody's, like, what they want.
Right.
Yeah, but it can be challenging because the days are, especially in, like, February and January, you have short days.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, like, you have your objectives. You're like, maybe we're only going to get like 3 shots today. And that would be like a good day. It's almost like realistic goals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And because, yeah, like there's the whole process of it and the sledding and like something I had to learn.
Dude, it's no joke. Like people see clips of guys snowmobiling in the backcountry, but it's like, it's the most frustrating thing you'll ever do in your life, learning how to snowmobile.
When I bought my first sled, I bought like 2017 Ski-Doo Summit 850, and I was like, I remember taking it out like the first 2 times and being like, why did I get this thing? You know,
that'd be better to walk.
Yeah, but then it's like you get better. You have moments where you don't get stuck on the hill climb or the side hill clicks and it works. And I'm like a visual learner, so I would like watch a bunch of YouTube videos and try to like figure it out. But yeah, it's like a process too. And that's what I always tell to people like wanting to do backcountry filming is try to figure it out. Like I bought the sled, would go out with homies and we wouldn't go film. We would just go ride, go figure out how to be in the mountains so that when the time is, maybe you get called up and now you're like, it's time for filming. You're
not a liability.
Exactly, yeah. And I still was. Like, my first trip, I went to Blue River with the Burton team.
Yeah.
And I had a sled for, like still 3 years of sledding, but I didn't realize what I was getting into. And we're, like, full sledding in the trees. And, like, there's a video of me, like, coming through, like, I'm not scared of the throttle, but sometimes that's my problem. And like coming up, going right next to a tree, wheeling like right next to it, like right into a tree, thinking I could just go through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sleds are like, we were talking about this earlier. The sleds are so good now. Like I have the Ski-Doo Summit 154 turbo, and it's crazy. Like it's made me a better snowmobiler for sure. Like it's just allows you to, it's so nimble, you know?
Yeah.
And that turbo is like, you don't have to go fast.
No.
Because the track speed's so quick. So you can be cruising, just get on it and it'll pick up just like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I had Carl Kuster on the podcast.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. He's like, well, he's the man, right? Like he freaking,
dude, he's insane.
The Skunk Works. He's the R&D guy for
Yeah,
Ski-Doo,
exactly.
right?
He does all of their testing, and he's got like the craziest like compound.
Have you been out there?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
That's where like I picked up a couple sleds from there, because like that's where Ski-Doo has a lot of their sleds there, and they do all their filming and testing. So I pick up the sleds that they've already used, and Ski-Doo's nice enough to let me use them and promote them during the season. So I'm always like riding their sleds.
Yeah.
It's sick. But yeah, that dude is insane. The finesse. I actually watched a bunch of his videos too.
Oh, he's so good.
To learn.
Okay.
Because he's got like, he does like some stuff on YouTube where he's like teaching people how to sled, and I watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did, me, Ryan, and Tony did one day with him. And we were like racing down the trail, like it was at Eagles Pass, and we're fully racing. Like I think there's no more left in it. Like I'm getting all of it. And Carl comes around the outside on like one ski around a corner and just like passes me like he's not even trying. Like it's just like he's so good on a sled.
Yeah, like one with it. Yeah. That's like Mikey Rentz. He's been sledding since he was 15. He's 35, so he's got like 20 years of experience, and he is like, he'll be like sledding in front of me and like see this little bump that I just like don't think is anything. He'll just do like an air land on this back of this pillow, and I'm just like, what the hell just happened? Like,
Trying not to get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just holding on for dear life. But yeah, it's sick too, like the sledding aspect. You definitely, we call it like the freedom machine, because you just get to go anywhere, and too, like it's amazing what they can get you into.
Yeah.
And it's our tool. Like it's too expensive. Like for me, my budget allows me to be snowmobiling and do that, but like it's a really efficient way to be in the mountains.
It's
and
the best.
You know, like if you can get a sled and get out there, and you can get a lot of laps, a lot of potential, like it is pretty incredible. Once you get it figured out, definitely takes a couple of years, but if you can get it figured out, like the lap potential, the places we wouldn't be able to film our video parts without them.
No.
Like not even like our Ski-Doos are like our workhorses, you know? It's like what we use every day.
Have you had any catastrophic days, like sled failures, like full stocks, like real late night coming
I've been
home?
lucky. I've had friends blow their engines before and stuff like that, and we've like in Whistler, there's like companies that, because there's so many sledders out there, that the helicopter comes. Yeah. Picks up your sled and long lines it back to the airport, and then you got to go pick it up, and you get doubled out by your buddy. But we've been good. Like we always because I was just taught too from the guys that I've worked with, is like have a good reliable sled, because it's your job, and that's why we're out there. So I've been good at just always making sure that I have it like dialed. Yeah. But it's definitely still, it happens. Like we've had like the other, was it 2 months ago, we had Gabe's sled went, our filmers, and that's it. And then you kind of figure out how to go from there. But yeah, you're always trying to have a backup plan.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you had any?
We had one. We had one day we were up in Revelstoke, up near the dam, and there was a zone that we were trying to get into, and our one buddy, fucking Justin, he rolls over and he goes, "My grandma could get back up this."
No.
So he's like, "No problem, we're going down here."
Once you go down,
we all go down, like, and we turn around. And we're like, "Dude, what the fuck?" Like, it's a straight hill climb out of this. So we try once, try twice. Ryan goes like right over backwards, breaks his snowboard because it's on, like tumbles. Tumbles all the way down. One buddy's still at the top, and luckily we could we just walked out. We left all our sleds at the bottom. We all walked out. There was one buddy with a sled. He kind of doubled us all the way to the top, and luckily it was okay enough to ski down to the car, like on the cat track.
Wait, so you guys just abandoned
We left. Well,
There's
there was no way out, so we went.
Oh wow, yeah, that's one hell of a story.
Oh yeah, so and it like it, when you hill climb, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Totally, you're just trenching.
And now it's like straight up and down. Like we couldn't do it. Like none of us were able to ride out. So we had 3 sleds down there, and we go into town, and the next morning we go to the frickin' like equipment rental and get a come along.
No way, yeah.
And so we attach it to a tree and we grinded all day with a come along
and got the sleds
got
out.
all 3 sleds out.
No way.
Yeah, because none of us were gonna pay for that helicopter.
No, you're like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Damn, respect. But yeah, once you get to that moment of like, oh no, because that's the thing is like, once you go down, you've committed to that zone.
And you've just covered so much ground on the sled. Like you're like, how many kilometers have we put in today? Like we're
Totally.
50K out.
Yeah, like we're putting in like 100K on our sleds each day for sure. But that's funny that dude. So how big would have the hill been if you guys were
Well, we could get it, like we'd get it to the point where it was super gnarly,
and then
we'd just park it, and someone would be like holding their sled there, and someone would run down and attach to come along.
Oh my God,
man. Yeah.
that's so sick.
It was a mess, but
Yeah, I remember I do have one like that. At least we got out, but first year filming with Craig McMorris and Sean Miskimin and Noobs was our filmer. Went down a zone that we wanted to called the Coop. Get down there. We're like, oh, let's take the other way out. I remember just like hitting a tree, stuck. And it was like getting late in the day, and we had to do like a glacier crossing to get back, and just being like, my arms are just like so pumped because like I'm not fit for this snowmobile, and just remember being like, so the way we got up it was because it was such a steep hill and we couldn't go up it. I'd never done the move before, but you side hill one way and then side hill the other way because then it cuts.
Yeah.
It cut the steepness of the hill out. But remember being like, I don't even know how to do this, and just being like, ah! Like just committing and hoping it worked, and then we got out. But remember being like, wow, that was intense.
yeah.
Because there's some moments where you're like, that's a scary thing. Letting your we practice like everyone stays in the same track,
Yes.
even though like you want to have fun sledding around, like especially when you know you're going into a zone that might be challenging to get out. If you can set a really good down track where everyone gets in it, and then it, maybe you don't use it till the end of the day and it hardens up.
Yeah.
It can definitely pull out of there. But if you go like, gung-ho,
boondocking around.
yeah, exactly. Then it gets a little interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you look at you're trying to do this forever?
Forever. Yeah, it's a funny way to say it.
But guys for me, just being a skier, I look at guys like Mark Abma and like Mike Douglas.
Totally.
And they're doing it well into whatever beyond 40.
Yeah, exactly.
Well beyond 40.
Yeah.
Like Mark is doing all these cool projects, and like whether it's, not always skiing, like he's tying other stuff in, like his cool little hobbit house, and like
he's showing more people into it. Yeah, totally. I respect those guys a lot, and I see Mark in the mountains a lot too. He's still crushing it out there, and I just think it's cool. I think too, like maybe like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, snowboard careers were like pretty short and short-lived, where you'd be like 30 and that would be it. But now I think with social media and just like the changing of the guard of like, it doesn't have to be the gnarliest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about before, it can be like something that's relatable. And for your sponsors, like that's just as important, like for Burton, for me filming like a nice powder run is just as important as doing the gnarly thing. And I think if you can keep doing that and like showing that it's a value to them, then you can keep doing it. That's in my mind. And I think those guys too, like the skiers, have been showing that you can, if you get people attached to like who you are. Yeah. And
you don't have to have the opener.
Yeah, exactly. I think you need
you need to have done it.
Have done it. And then you can like do something else, Yeah. But then you're like someone like Travis Rice, where you're like, he's always
the gnarliest.
The gnarliest.
Or Jeremy Jones or someone.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I mean, that's
So are you gonna stay in Whistler forever?
forever. I mean, maybe not forever. We'll
But
definitely
indefinitely?
move indefinitely for the next bit. Like, as long as I can be a professional snowboarder, I just think it's important for like the time on the board.
Yeah.
Like being next to the mountain and having that time to like just the best riders, at least from I've seen, is the finesse, and the more time you can put on your board, the more
Yeah.
finesse.
But you don't have like aspirations to go have like a a little hut somewhere in Montana or
Ooh,
like
I
northern
mean,
BC.
I think there's like a couple places near, like Revelstoke that I would not mind having a little zone
Yeah.
that could be really special.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever have a family, and showing them the ropes of like sledding and filming, or not filming, but just riding powder.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend Emma loves riding powder as well. She's
Perfect.
a big snowboarder, so definitely works out. I can convince her to to be in the mountains.
I'm sure that wouldn't be tough.
Yeah, I think we'd have to have a little, maybe like a place in the mountains, and then also a place near like a nice lake or something, or like you're like not in the mountains.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
like
yeah.
definitely needs the bougie, maybe the city side too.
Kelowna, yeah.
Yeah, Kelowna. Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Man, appreciate you taking the time.
Dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Any parting words, or tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah,
What to
I
watch
guess
next?
a big thanks to Burton Snowboards, Rockstar Energy, for supporting me through my career and making it possible to do what I do, and all the people that have been involved in my career. It's very grateful. And yeah, I'm on Instagram at Mikey Ciccarelli, as well as TikTok. Got the YouTube going.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to do it all. So
Yeah,
if
we'll
you wanna
post this there if you want.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. I should
Yeah.
do that.
And
And
what's the next movie that people should watch for?
so this year we're gonna have like a Burton short film coming out in
Okay.
the fall. Kind of like this will be a little different project where it's a montage. Everyone's footage just put together,
got it. Yeah,
not
yeah.
part based, but just like snowboarding, just raw and like exciting to watch. Good
So
music.
what are you wearing, so people can?
Okay, yeah.
know
So I'm
who's you?
wearing black snow pants, baby blue jacket.
'Kay.
And you'll see I got my Rockstar helmet on as well. So yeah, we're trying to make it. I think it's good to do a bit of both, and it'll be a fun, just like a really watchable
Yeah.
snowboard project that
Perfect.
people want to rewatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
Mhm.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
man.
Gary. Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
See you guys next week.